Why haven't the Conservative side of politics tried to associate themselves with the successes of the Conservatives in America?
Simply because it's a different country.
Well, okay.
We don't associate ourselves with the economic performance of John Key when he was Prime Minister, or Theresa May, or Angela Merkel. That's what it is. We've got enough issues dealing with our situation here. We never associated ourselves much with Ronald Reagan when he was President of the United States of America. The thing about Trump is he's done some.
He's controversial. I appreciate.
Well, I think political practitioners like me would just prefer he'd
stop tweeting.
He'd stop tweeting, but brush off the rough edges.
I agree.
He does a lot of things which alienate people unnecessarily.
Now, this is an optional topic to get onto. Currently, there's huge controversy over Brett Kavanaugh. And I've observed this for several weeks now with growing anger about the way things have progressed. We have a situation where an election is coming up early next year perhaps that is between one candidate who, as far as I can tell, is virtually as squeaky clean as they can be, versus another candidate who has been under a cloud for over a number of things, including, in the light of the Kavanaugh allegations, an allegation which is not dissimilar to what Brett Kavanaugh is facing.
Which race are you talking about, by the way?
The next federal election.
You're here
in Australia.
Right, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about a US race.
No, in Australia.
Yeah, right, I understand what you're saying.
Okay,
I hear you.
We have one candidate who has been accused of something that is not dissimilar to the Kavanaugh thing. There's huge demand that Kavanaugh appear before the US Senate to explain himself. Yet I'm not hearing anything about the notion that someone in Australia should.
He's accused of something much worse. Let's be frank. Bill Shorten was accused of rape.
Absolutely, exactly. I didn't want to name names.
Well, Kavanaugh hasn't been accused.
That's
of rape.
right.
So the police investigated the allegations of rape against Bill Shorten.
That's right.
And decided there wasn't enough evidence to prosecute him, and a man is innocent if he's not guilty.
My understanding is that the result was it was referred to the DPP and there was no reasonable prospect of a conviction. That was the wording that I read in the papers. Right. Now, I appreciate the implications of that it's essentially it's saying we can't prove it or we can't disprove it. However, there is a huge hue and cry that Kavanaugh must go before the Senate and explain himself, but I don't hear the left in Australia demanding that a person in not dissimilar circumstances in Australia go before the Senate, or the accuser come before the Senate.
So this is why the presumption of innocence is such a golden thread in
absolutely,
our legal system.
Absolutely.
And where the mere accusation being made implies some form of guilt, which is a very corroding and odious development in
What about the
politics.
accuser's right to be heard?
Of course they've got a right to be heard, but the accused has a
I agree totally.
Otherwise.
I agree totally.
In relation to the Shorten case, what was most interesting to many people, putting aside the allegation and the fact that there was no sufficient grounds to proceed, is that the media and everyone were aware of this and never published it.
You are absolutely right.
This is where, if this had been an allegation against a Liberal member, opposition leader, who was effectively being accused of a criminal offence, there would have been calls by the left, by the feminists, by the neo-fascists on the left to stand down, to vacate your position until this criminal investigation had been completed. In relation to Shorten, the media did nothing.
Absolutely.
Said nothing. It was most...
Michael, I was in the audience at Q&A in Melbourne around this time. It was mid-2014, and Tony Jones was on the stage railing about the fact that there were allegations that Australian naval personnel had held the hands of boat people on hot radiators on the boats, and how terrible these allegations were. And I put my hand up, and the producers handed me a microphone, and they were going to cut to me. And the question I was going to ask was, Tony, why is the ABC repeating the unsubstantiated allegations by some bloke in Indonesia, but they're not reporting the unsubstantiated allegations by women in Australia? And they decided not to go ahead with me asking the question, so I didn't get a chance.
No, I'm sure they didn't. No, well, this is the ABC.
Well, they didn't know what I was going to ask, but
I just made this point in the Bolt report that the ABC used to say, we get criticised by the Liberal Party on the right and the Labor Party on the left. No. When the Labor Party have criticised the ABC, it's not because the ABC is too right-wing, it's because the ABC is too left-wing.
Yeah.
And the great case was in 1991 when Bob Hall complained to the ABC about Dr. Robert Springboard, who was the ABC's official expert on the Iraq War, and Springborg had an association with, he'd been public critic of Hawke, public critic of the war. He had association with the Australia-Iraq Friendship Society, yet he was the ABC expert.
Yes.
So Hawke was saying the ABC's too left-wing, not that it's too right-wing, but this is the ABC. It's now acting in a manner where it's lost all semblance of fairness in its news and current affairs division.
Absolutely.
A lot of the ABC's fine. Rural reporting, sport, children's program, all this stuff.
I agree totally.
But what is the core problem is that the news and current affairs division is no longer impartial, and it hasn't been for very many years.
Michael Kroger, thank you very much.
Great pleasure.